This sign, deer crossing. You don't even need to speak any language to know that when you see this, watch out for deer on the road. This is moose crossing, which does not apply in most states, but it works on the same principle as the deer crossing sign. There's also the pedestrian crossing symbol, do not hit the people crossing the street. All simple, essentially universal, easily understood symbols conveying common dangers to look out for when you are on the road. Last night in Zanesville, Ohio, motorists were confronted with this warning. Caution, exotic animals. The sign had not been hacked. This was a real warning for a real thing that happened in Ohio last night, something that has pretty much transfixed not only central Ohio, but the whole country.
Breaking news right now, stay inside, protect your family. That's the message after dozens of dangerous exotic animals escaped and are on the loose right now in Muskingum County.
A strong directive from County Sheriff Lutz saying stay inside. There just might be a lion, a tiger, or grizzly roaming in your neighborhood.
Breaking news, dozens of dangerous animals, including tigers, lions, and wolves on the loose near Columbus, Ohio, after apparently being set free from a preserve.
Cougars, tigers, lions, cheetahs, and grizzly and black bears.
Even giraffes and camels right now are loose in central Ohio.
The owner is dead. The cage is unlocked. Police are saying it looks like the owner set them free and then killed himself.
More than 50 law enforcement officials, some equipped with night vision and armed with assault rifles, hunted the animals through the night.
Right now, we're shooting to kill.
About 45 of them escaped, but these numbers have been fluctuating throughout the day.
It's basically a big game hunt.
They estimate that they've already shot between 30 and 35 of the animals.
By this afternoon, the full scope of this strange tragedy was starting to become clear.
The total number of animals we were dealing with was approximately 56 animals on this farm. There are 48 animals that we had to put down. Those animals included 1 wolf, 6 black bears, 2 grizzly bears, 9 male lions, 8 lionesses, 1 baboon, 3 mountain lions, and 18 tigers.
These guys did not enjoy what they did last night. They have to go home and explain to their families and their kids what they had to do last night. Let's hope this never has to happen again in any state, what these guys had to do last night, because it's a tragedy for the animal world is what it is.
Tonight, tonight all 56 animals have been accounted for. Only 6 of those animals are still alive. When their owner, Terry Thompson, released the animals, he didn't just release them into the wild. He released them into Ohio, into semi-rural suburban Columbus, Ohio, alongside Interstate 70, where reportedly 2 of the animals lost their lives in traffic. And presumably bewildered, where did that thing come from, traffic? Terry Thompson not only opened the animals' cages, but he reportedly cut the cage wire. So even if the animals had been able to be brought back to their cages, the cages would no longer hold. He was condemning those animals to die just as absolutely as he was about to take his own life last night. But how is it that one man on one farm in central Ohio could even have 56 exotic animals to begin with? He was a convicted felon who had just been released from federal prison for possessing illegal guns, possessing lots of illegal guns. Someone convicted on animal cruelty charges in the past. The reason a guy with that record was allowed to have dozens of exotic animals, including giraffes and lions and camels, is that Terry Thompson lived in Ohio. Ohio is a state that has lax, as in no regulations about keeping exotic animals. Apparently anybody can do it. It was not always this way. The immediate previous governor of Ohio, Democrat Ted Strickland, put in place state rules for Ohio about the keeping of big cats, bears, wolves, non-human primates, large constricting and venomous snakes, and crocodilians. Governor Strickland banned the private ownership of all of those animals, in large part because of what happened to this man. 24-year-old Brent Kendra was feeding one of 9 black bears that belonged to a guy who kept and bred the animals for a bear wrestling act. When the bear he was feeding attacked him and killed him. Because of what happened to Brent Kendra, the plan in Ohio was to make sure something like this did not happen again. But this year, the new John Kasich administration took over in the Ohio governor's office and decided that the exotic animal ban was not for them. They let the exotic animal rules in Ohio expire. Too much regulation, they said. Quote, our standpoint is right now that this is not something we're enforcing. If it was enforced at this very moment, it would hurt small businesses. No telling how on earth small businesses are helped by these 49 dead animals, 18 of them rare Bengal tigers, among the most threatened species in the world. It is frankly bizarre that this is a political issue at all, that wild animal trafficking is the sort of thing about which there would be controversy, that there ought to be some rules. But believe it or not, this is not the first time this has come up. This is not even the first time this has come up even just this year. It's not just John Kasich in Ohio. Last month, Republicans in Congress called in a snake breeder to testify against what they called the job-killing regulations of the Obama administration. This guy breeds exotic pythons. He sells them by mail order as pets. And he does not want the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to ban him from doing that. I'm sure he doesn't. And one of the reasons we have government is so guys like that aren't the final arbiter of whether or not it's in our national interest to have guys selling pythons as if they are widgets. Hello, discarded python pets in the Everglades. How's it going? So this is how the Republican-led House spent its time on job creation last month, inveighing against the onerous regulation of pythons. Because if we only stopped regulating pythons, that would fix unemployment. And in Ohio, this is our regulation-free paradise today. It is astonishing that the only human primate casualty was self-inflicted. Jack Hanna is Director Emeritus of the Columbus Zoo and Aquarium. Hanna and zoo staff members helped evacuate the handful of animals that remained on Terry Thompson's farm to the Columbus Zoo, where they are tonight. Jack Hanna is also host of Into the Wild and Wild Countdown. Mr. Hanna, it's a real honor to have you with us tonight. Thank you for taking the time.
Okay, I just want to say several things. I think someone said that Columbus, Ohio. It was in Zanesville, Ohio, about 55 miles away it all happened. And also there were no giraffes or camels there at all whatsoever, and there were no cheetahs there. So just a few things there. And one last thing that was said about Governor Kasich. Remember, Governor Strickland did sign a bill right before he left office. The problem he left out is who is to go ahead and take care of the laws he wanted to have enforced. We don't have the people to go up and knock on a door and find out where these animals are, number one. Number two, where, like, for example, you said, you're correct when you said we had 55 animals out there. Let's say I went out there last week and I was going to go there to take those animals. Where would those animals go? There was no place to go. So it's not a matter of Governor Kasich, whether Democrat, Republican. I already don't want to get into that. The governor called us 2 weeks after he's in office and said we have to have a committee immediately to form so we can work this plan out where we have proper people to go in here and take these animals, shut these auctions down. We're about 6 weeks away from enforcing this entire thing. Obviously, this tragic thing happened last night. We were on with the governor for half an hour to an hour a day. He met all day to try and put the committees together to stop the auctions immediately, as well as to try and put these plans we've been working on into force so we can now have a repository for these animals. What do we do with 55 animals? We can't go up there as a Columbus Zoo, and we have one of the largest zoos in North America, by the way, probably one of the top 3 out of 220. We have no place to put 55 lions, tigers, and all these animals. So now we're going to build something at the wild, 10,000 acres we have, a repository. So now throughout this state, and maybe the United States, we can now shut these things down, these people like this, and have these animals at home so we can put them somewhere and then stop this over a period of 10 years to where no one can purchase these lions and tigers, as you said. And it's a disaster. I had to sit there all day today, and thank God we had no loss of human life, and watch the 30 or 40 animals lined up there on the ground, which is something I'll never forget as long as I live.
When you talk about the idea that nobody should be able to purchase animals like this, Sheriff Lutz said at this afternoon's press conference that he thinks that Ohio really needs to have different rules about this sort of thing. And obviously you've been part of processes to try to get around to that. Do you think that had the rules been different, this could have been avoided?
I think so, yes. Not just under Governor Kasich or Governor Strickland. This has been going on for years, not just in this state, but other states throughout the country. Other states have passed laws, and now it's getting better. This state now, obviously, with what's happened here, is now going to follow suit. Anyone that wants to go to animal auction here in the next 6 months, I suggest you go elsewhere because they're going to be closed down. Anyone that wants to do what this man did in the next year or so, I suggest you be ready for a real good inspection, or else your animals will be taken. I'm not talking about bona fide breeders. We have several great breeders in this state that help the zoological world. Without them, we could be doomed with some of these animals. These are people who spend hundreds of thousands of dollars helping us with animals in their own private area. That's not who we're gunning for. We want the people who try and do what we saw here last night, just collecting animals. So let's say I get a raccoon, then all of a sudden I want a bear, then I want a tiger, then I want 18 tigers. Can you imagine what it looked like last night up there? Darkness setting in 1 hour. All of a sudden the sheriffs are called that there's lions over here in this yard and that yard. All of a sudden you see 18 tigers coming down the road at you, jumping the fences, going everywhere. A decision had to be made in a split second. What do we do? Darkness coming. We have 40-something carnivores running around here right now. the sheriff had to make the right decision, or else we'd have had beyond stories here this morning in Zanesville, Ohio. You wouldn't want to see what would have happened this morning if he hadn't taken action.
In terms of the overall tragedy here and being able to see all of those animals that did not survive this tragedy, in terms of conservation, is there any way that you can tell us which of these animals being killed is sort of the biggest loss in terms of conservation? Which of these, I guess, is not just heartbreaking but also important to the survival of their species?
That's a good question. Obviously, the loss of any animal, whether it's a bear or an endangered species, it could be a goat. It's a living creature. Now, with that said, obviously you're talking 18 Bengal tigers. Right now we thought there were about 5,000 Bengal tigers left in the wild. We found out last year we have less than 1,400 Bengal tigers left in India. 1,400. This animal could go extinct in our lifetime. Who would ever thought that when I was a young boy just getting into this field 30-something years ago? It's surprising. So what got me today, I think, once we knew that everything was accounted for, was seeing that 18 Bengal tigers, one of the rarest creatures in the world, is now laying there because, as you said, a man was selfish enough to think that he could just open these gates and everything go out there. Did he want the animals to kill the people? Maybe. I don't really know what he wanted. But whatever he didn't accomplish. Because what happened is nobody was killed. Nobody was harmed. It's a miracle is what it is. And now all these animals are gone. That's what's tragedy about this.
Jack Hannon, Director Emeritus of the Columbus Zoo, host of Into the Wild and Wild Countdown. Thanks very much for your time tonight, sir. I really appreciate it.
Thank you all.
We will be right back.